Hey y'all, hey, how you doing out there tonight? This is the Energy of the Week reading for April 5th, 2026, and yes, it is actually Monday, April 6th, 2026. I got a little bit of a late start, but I pulled the cards yesterday. I just didn't have a chance to record until today. If you don't know who I am Mama Berry. I'm owner and operator of thatmamaberrylife.com. Info is in the description. I'm not going to get too far into that intro tonight. I just want to get into the reading. So I am here to talk about the energy of the week. And yeah, seriously, we all already know what that is. So let's just jump right in. The energy is World War III. People are scared. People are confused. People are uncertain. Or people are happy, they're delighted, and they are reveling in the energy that they have created, and they're rooting for it to keep going, so long as it doesn't make them uncomfortable or touch them at all. There's a dismantling going on right now of our entire lives, and we are not going to know what that looks like until we're living on the other side of it. So the fear, it makes sense. Then there is the why behind all of this. This is spiritual warfare, and at times it feels like we are all meat sacks just being pushed into the next level of consciousness, into the next level of evolution. Someone on social media tonight said that being American right now is like being in the backseat of a moving car with the drunk at the wheel, and I think that's probably true for everyone on the planet right now because we're all one. We're all one. We're all connected. So our actions have impact across the globe. As above, so below. As within, so without. Right? So while this might leave us feeling like we're helpless, I promise you, we are not. And it's okay to feel the fear. Under the circumstances, that's probably a healthy response, but we do not sit in it. Be aware, be prepared, and just be. So, before I began my work tonight, I started off with my favorite song, Die With a Smile. It felt relevant. I know that for me, and I think probably a few other folks out there in the world, there are moments when it feels like the world is ending. And while I sang it loud and wrong to calm myself and to connect to spirit for this message, I knew that was absolutely true. The world is ending. Nothing familiar to us is going to remain because it has not been built on stable ground. Nothing that is has been built with moral authority. Nothing that is good to the core. And it has to burn. And so yes, the world is ending, but it is not dying. Gaia, the mother of our earth, she's not going to let that happen. She wants humans to stay here. Energies from across pantheons, ancient, wise, revered, worshipped, demonized, loved, hated, the old gods, the new gods. Energies, all of them, they want to protect humanity. But if Gaia, who birthed all that we hold dear and all that sustains us, has to choose between humanity and Earth, she's choosing Earth. Because in the end, Earth will always birth new life. That's its purpose, to sustain life and perpetuate it in surprisingly glorious ways. For us to stay here, she needs us to feed her. She needs us to protect her like she has always protected us. She needs us to love her. And even if we choose not to do that, she will survive. The world will not die. The question is, will we? And the answer is no. To survive, what we're going to all have to do is let go of what makes us feel safe, trusting that there's a net underneath us right before we hit the ground, trusting that that net is there to catch us when we feel like we're falling. But we're not really falling. We're just scared. Understandably, logically scared. But we are safe. Not all of us, because so many of us have already made the ultimate sacrifice. And not all of us, because so many of us have moved so severely off the path of humanity, we can never find our way back. But for those of us who are still connected, we are safe, we are protected, and all of the energy in the universe is working to help us grow up enough to move into the next phase and start fresh on solid, morally stable ground. Morally stable. And so, in light of current world conditions, I chose several oracle decks and one tarot deck, and I approached Spirit with 5 questions to help us focus and direct our energy over the next week or so. I'm going to leave this note here about number synchronicities. I pulled out a total of 12 cards. 11 of those cards, 11, were connected to the number 9. Either their card number was 9, or the sum of the card number came out in sets was 9, or the sum of the numbers on the card were 9. It was not a coincidence. The last card, there was one leftover card that did not add up to 9. It was the 7. Again, not a coincidence. In numerology, the number 9 is associated with endings, while the number 7 is about seeking knowledge, seeking truth. It's about spiritual awakenings, understanding the mysteries of the universe that surrounds us, and trusting ourselves, trusting our intuition. I noticed the numbers because I noticed patterns, and I wasn't going to say anything in the reading, but then I realized just how many of the card pairings added up to the number 9. And I knew I had to share that with you because from every level of the universe, we are being guided. The numbers say, this is ending. Wake up, seek truth, and trust yourself. Your intuition is guiding you in the right direction. And on that note, let's get to it, shall we? So I just want to say this is a longer reading. There are 5 questions, and I wrote as prolifically as I usually do. Hopefully listening to it makes it a little bit easier to get through it. But we're going to start with question number 1, which was, during this time of spiritual and human warfare, as above, so below, in the midst of this extraordinary energy that no human alive has ever seen firsthand, what do we focus on? What do we focus on? So, for this question, I pulled from the deck Divination of the Ancients, and I pulled a card that if you have been listening to any of my readings, you should be very familiar with by now. It's the card Book. Knowledge. Hopefully you can see that. I'll angle it so that the glare is off. But that's the card. And then from the Gentle Tarot deck, which is the tarot deck I used this week, I pulled the 3 of Cups. These cards together tell us that you know what you know. Your intuition, it feeds you, it tells you, it leads you, and it guides you. Follow it and trust it implicitly, no matter what. Keep reading, keep learning, and rely on discernment, not only in the knowledge you take in, but the knowledge you share. One of those places we can share is in community. In community, we find fullness, strength, and power. We can heal with one another, lean on one another, and share resources with one another, which includes knowledge. This coming together, this joining with other souls, it creates new energetic pathways that supports whatever growth is necessary. It creates a 3-fold bond of magic. But the 3 of Cups is also about celebration. So this isn't talking about community just for the sake of community, or because one has no choice, as if we have been foisted into a job where we can't choose our workmates, or a classroom where we can't choose our peers. This is a community of like-minded folks, of sisters and brothers, of friends, of chosen family. Inside of that, we find joy and playfulness. We create and dance and laugh and love and celebrate together. As always, throughout this reading, you'll hear similar themes. I promise you, all of the themes come directly from the cards themselves, either through traditional meaning or the card text from the Oracle Guide. And we've already hit on theme number 1, which is about joy, playfulness, and celebration. So, what do we focus on? Community, knowledge, intuition, magic, and joyful celebration. Today, I celebrate the sun shining through the new buds on the trees as the earth springs back to life. For the beauty is breathtaking, and it reminds me that life finds a way to perpetuate and thrive despite everything. So for question number 2, I asked, how do we move through this? I used the Cosmic Astrology Oracle deck from Tanaaz Chubb, and the card I pulled is Neptune. The tarot card that came up is the King of Wands reversed. The King is the Harvest of Wands in this deck. The King of Wands reversed. So, these two cards together, what do they tell us, and how do they tell us how we need to navigate through this time? Neptune is about dreams and illusions. It's about creativity, imagination, spiritual love, and spiritual connection. What's real and what's an illusion? What do we desire and what do we want to create? How can spirit help guide us to what we want? Neptune connects us to that dream state where we can imagine what we want and begin to create it in the ethers, as long as we don't get lost in the illusion. And right now, I think it's important to ask ourselves, what is the illusion? While I can't answer that for you on a personal level, what I can offer you is to look to the distractions. Look at what inspires fear and anger and hopelessness and confusion. That is likely where we will find the biggest illusion. There, we'll find those things that we are not meant to live inside of or dwell on. We aren't meant to ignore them either, for they can and do sometimes have a real-world impact. But when we wonder how we move through that illusion, the answer that Neptune offers is to focus on our dreams. Focus on what we find in our imagination. Focus on love, for that is what connects us above and below. And then create, for what we create is stronger than illusion. This idea of creation, which is our next theme that carries across the cards, is such a necessary message right now because we're in a collective phase of life where we must create and build something new, something necessary, something that benefits all of creation. We're meant to build society in a way that works, and here, the accompanying card, the King of Wands, shows up in reverse as a reminder that this is the time for all of us to step into community and work with one another. The King of Wands is a natural leader, charismatic and powerful. He brings the energy of pure masculine fire, accompanied by a need to command and go, unconcerned with creation, but fully consumed with execution. And this is why this card appears as a warning. Neptune is telling us to create, because that's how we're going to navigate this, and collectively, we know that. We also intuitively know what it is we are meant to create. As we navigate forward, we need to remember that creation is feminine energy, and that the goal is to work in community with one another, which means we are not always going to be the leader. Sometimes we will be following. Sometimes we will be doing the menial labor, and yes, sometimes we will be in the spotlight. We need to become comfortable in all the roles, because that is the best way to build. To do so from various perspectives and changing positions, to bring your skills, talents, and gifts to every level of creation. That's what builds a stable foundation. You can't do that if you are solely concerned with shining as a leader. It's important to remember here too that we are in Aries season. Aries is fire, masculine, driven, impulsive, like the King of Wands. Aries will burn it all down if left unleashed. And so we are not just in his season, we are inundated with the energy. As of this reading, there are 4 major planets transiting through Aries right now, with 2 more to join them in the coming weeks. That's an awful lot of fiery energy, and it's going to want to take over, to command and lead, to burn. So when we feel that fire at our feet, we need to slow down, take a breath, and tap into the element of water to help soothe it and direct its path. We direct the fire. We do not let it direct us, because if we do, it will chase us right over a cliff. So how do we navigate through this time? We look at where the real illusions are showing up in our lives, in the collective, and then we put them in their proper place and focus on our dreams, our desires, and our imagination to create something necessary and beautiful and wonderful that will benefit all of us, while making sure to keep that fiery masculine energy we are all surrounded by at the moment in check. Let the water calm the fire. Let the water calm us. And then create. For question number 3, I asked, how do we contain and direct the fear? For the Oracle deck, I used the Rose Oracle by Rebecca Campbell, and the card that came out was Rose Without Thorns. Rose Without Thorns. And at the bottom there it says, you have a right to joy, peace, and sweetness of life. The tarot card that I pulled is the Ace of Stones, which is the Ace of Pentacles in this deck. So together, these 2 cards give us the answer to our question. Joy, peace, and sweetness, all the good things in life, these are our birthright. This is what we are entitled to, but we must be willing to receive it, to receive a rose without thorns. And when we do, we need to settle into the beauty of our lives. Let softness cradle us and take us into a state of rest where we can enjoy the intoxicating scent of the rose or the electrified feeling of being alive. Embrace the gift. Let it delight you and find gratitude in the smallest of things, for there is where you will find the sweetest moments and the most delectable goodies. Paired with the Ace of Pentacles, we know that the gift is not just already here, but more is on the way. This card shows us opportunity and potential on the horizon and all around us, and it reminds us it is grounded in the material realm. We can pull those opportunities right down through the ethers as we create. We can pull our actual creations right down through the ethers. And so, this also serves as a beautiful callback to our main mission of creation. The Ace of Pentacles wants us to remember the power in the potential, take advantage of the opportunities all around us, and send our creative energy out like roots, knowing they will grow a stable, fertile, and abundant foundation for what we create. Our creation is medicine for the whole world. Tap in and help it heal. So how do we contain and direct the fear? We remember. We remember our birthright, which is an entitlement to all the good things our heart desires, to the joy, peace, and sweetness that surrounds us. We remember the gifts Spirit offers us and that we know how to receive with gratitude. And we remember the power and the potential, pulling it down into the material world by crafting and creating what we want to see materialize. We remember. For question number 4, I asked, what are some practical measures we can take to help navigate the waters safely when we aren't steering the ship? For this one, I used the Sacred Rebels deck by Alana Fairchild. And for these cards, no matter how hard I tried to pull just one card, 2 cards stubbornly kept coming out together. They jumped right out of the deck, slightly stuck together, and they would not let go. So I just took both of them, and I'm so glad I did. because here comes that theme of creation again. The first card, new birth, guard it vigilantly. New birth, guard it vigilantly. And then for the second card, we have free from judgment, free to love. Free from judgment, free to love. These cards were accompanied by the Seven of Thunder, which is the Seven of Swords in the Gentle Tarot deck. So those are the cards that are delivering our message. The New Birth card talks about the creative process again, and it comes with a message that speaks to both the process and the new life that comes from creation. It reminds us that there is a vulnerability in the beginning of a new life that requires the flexibility to start and start again, to try and try again, because not every attempt will be successful. We will stumble, we will flounder, and we must keep going. The promise is that when we keep at it, the end results will be powerful because of the floundering, not despite it. The falling, it's useful. It builds strength and character, and in the end, it gives our new creation a strong foundation that cannot be easily ripped away. In order to bring new creation to life, one must pay attention to it. One must take care of it and nurture it. Whatever you create, you have to keep going, even if it isn't perfect. Devote time and energy to it until it breathes on its own and begins to stumble on its own like a newly born foal, and then protect it until it's strong enough to run on the power of its own strength. Don't abandon hope. Don't abandon what you want to see in your life and the lives of those in your community. Create it, build it, sustain and nurture it, and then let it run free, fueled by the power you infused into its soul. An inherent part of that creative process is learning how to properly nurture what you birthed, how to properly nurture yourself even. It's about tapping into the maternal nature of the divine feminine and letting her show you how to properly nurture, nourish, and care for all that is around you, yourself, your community, your beliefs, and all that you create and send out into the world. This is not about being a mother, but about learning what a divine mother does and how she's successful at it, for you cannot create without nurturing. The divine feminine, like the divine masculine, is genderless. It's an energy that is available to all of us, and we are being called to let her come in and balance out the extremes of the divine masculine themes currently ripping through the world. The Seven of Swords appearing as a clarifying card here stresses that point. It stresses that there is some betrayal at hand, some sneakiness, and we must remain alert to all the ways those things we want to birth can be sabotaged. Are there ideologies from the social lessons we carry in our hearts that are threatening to stop us from creating the world we want to see? Are your belief systems truly in alignment with the future you want to create? Are the people in your community in lockstep with you? Or are they gently steering you backwards into a world we all know can no longer work? Into a world we must let go? Are they uncomfortable with what they must give up? Are we? Are we letting that discomfort helm the wheel of creation and hiding behind an illusion? Take a look at what might impede forward momentum and be honest about it. Pull it out into the light and let the sun burn it away. Some of us have been doing this work already. Some of us are well acquainted with what it means to nurture others and need to sit back and receive some nourishment ourselves. If you find yourself tired or lonely, sit down and close your eyes. Reach within and connect to yourself, and then send that connection outwards and just become aware of how you are part of the all. Let it flow in and flow through you. We are made of the same stuff as the world around us. We breathe air into our bodies and exhale life-giving breath that connects us to nature. Our body is mostly water, rising and falling, pushing and pulling with the tides of the ocean. There's earth in our bones and fire in our hearts. Let those connections feed you. Let them nurture you. Let the Divine Feminine show you how to create and care for a world that is filled with so much love and joy and peace and bliss that we all feel safe and nourished. And so, what are some practical measures we can take to help navigate the waters safely when we aren't steering the ship, when we don't have control? We put our energy into creation and build a life, a community, a society we want to see. And we tap into the Divine Feminine to balance out the extremes of the masculine energy currently setting the world on fire. Let her teach us how to nourish and nurture our creation until it's strong enough to thrive on its own power. We do the work. And we tap into the Divine Feminine to balance out the extremes of the masculine energy currently setting the world on fire, and let her teach us how to nourish and nurture our creation until it is strong enough to thrive on its own power. We do the work. We keep it honest. We build. Question number 5, the last question. I asked, where can we safely seek solace? So for this one, I used the Sacred Forest Oracle, and the playfulness of elves popped out alongside the 9 of Pentacles. Here, Spirit says, we already answered this question. Play. Dance under the stars, let your inhibitions go. Laugh and let the spirit of playfulness infuse your very soul. Let your joy be a gift to the world. And then the 9 of Pentacles tells us to luxuriate in the abundance, for it surrounds us. Abundance is not just money or wealth. Abundance is an energy infused into everything. The ease of health, the fertility of the soil, the beauty in the multitudes of creatures that we share the earth with, the scent of a flower or the warmth of the sun, the laughter of children playing, and the shared connection with friends. Abundance is so much more than money or wealth. And the 9 of Pentacles shows up here to remind us to embrace it all, let it carry us into even more abundance, and be grateful for every moment. And that, my friends, is where we seek solace. And finally, I pulled one last card to just kind of pull all of those messages together. I used the Oracle deck, The Wisdom of Hafiz by Daniel Ladinsky, and from that we got number 33, Decide for Yourself. And it's really cool now that I'm staring at it in the camera. This card is about abundance too, right? And it really does tie all of the messages together beautifully. But look at that. That looks like the Empress or the Queen of Pentacles. There are symbols of beauty and abundance and fertility. There's the rabbit down there. There's royalty and luxury and lushness in the grasses and the scent of the flowers. This just sums up everything that Spirit has been telling us about tonight, right? This is what we need to luxuriate in. But also, the message on this actual card repeats the card that we started off with. So that very first card that came out, the book/knowledge card, this card is a reminder, just like that card was, that we carry all that we need inside of ourselves. We already know, right? Our intuition is with us. So we need to sit and connect and listen. Even when there's silence, we need to listen for that small voice inside of us, because it's giving us clear guidance. It tells us how to direct our own steps, even when we aren't consciously aware of what we think we ought to do. So, remember who you are and trust yourself, because you got this. So, that's all that I have for this week. Y'all go be great, and remember that I am sending you off with all the love, all the time. Sleep well, okay? Good night.